My name is Sister Jolie May. I'm a member of the Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ, and I've had many opportunities to travel to different countries as part of administration of our congregation. I think as you look at the art in the different countries, for me, it had a different purpose often. And one that struck me is Germany's art. And I lived in Germany for 6 years, so the opportunity to see a great deal of that art was actually in the convent itself. And what I always found was their art is very, very exquisite, very artistic, very tasteful. And it's something that you want to linger over. Your eyes just want to stay there. And there's a bit of it enters in the soul, it enters within because it is so exquisite. You see this art not only in the ceramics of the particular areas, but you see it in the doors, the doors that will have the bas relief and the like, that you have the history that's involved with it, and yet it's in bronze, it's in the wood, it's carved. Some of it's very old, some of it's very modern, because some things you can look at it and you would say, that's lovely, it's beautiful, it's something that I like to look at. But this art I've talked about is something that I think lasts for time, and it is just very, very gripping and beautiful, be it the statues and the shapes that they take, be it the plaques on the walls or the wood carvings or whatever it may be, all very, very artistic. And that's how I see Germany.
My name is Sister Edith Snyder. I've been a Poor Handmaid of Jesus Christ for 54 years. And I was very surprised by the opportunities God opened to me, but I spent over 40 years of my life either in Latin America or with Mexicans here in the United States. 4 years in Bolivia way back in 1970s, and 26 years in Mexico much more recently. But I'd rather talk more about Bolivia, perhaps because it was my first place in Latin America. Everything was new, everything was beautiful. I was in the city of La Paz, which is high in the Altiplano, about 9,000, 10,000 feet above sea level. So very little grew there, a very barren area. But there I was super impressed with the folk dances. There's a little embroidery piece over here, a little handkerchief embroidered with a campesino woman, but a woman out in the Altiplano tending her sheep and making wool from the sheep with her spindle. And then they would make their own socks for their kids out of the wool that they spun. So you would often see beautiful wood carvings of the women dressed in their typical outfits.
Well, hello, I'm Sister Germaine Hustedi. People say to me, Hustedi, that's not German, is it? It's not really. It's a combination of Dutch and German because my forefathers came from Westphalia, which is right on the border of Germany and the Netherlands. So I'm a composite. I have had the privilege and the blessing of visiting many, many countries, and each one has taught me very, very much. Each country has its own culture, its own wonderful art, its own architecture. So if we think about art as a form, as an art form, I found that in most countries, people use what's ever available to them to produce their art. So in Kenya, for instance, art is very often made from soapstone. The people also do a lot of art like this. They call it by a special name. It's called Boyi wall art, and it's made out of batik and things like that, but it represents the people in their dance and in their, the way they live. So these pieces This one, for instance, the women carrying the pots on their heads. It's very typical because many people have to go out and fetch water. It's not something that is, you know, in the villages, you don't go and turn on a tap and say, now we have water. But this is very representative of the people.